Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Last week we talked about the difference between annuals and perennials, what they are, how they grow, and why each has a place in your garden. Today we're going to take that one step further and talk about how to choose those annuals and perennials for your space. Because knowing the difference is one thing, but figuring out what actually deserves that precious garden real estate, that's where the magic happens. And before you even get started, think about what colors you might like. I prefer predominantly green. You can see the bushes and stuff that I've planted are predominantly green. Some buds and flowers and berries here and there, but primarily I'm a green person. So know what color palette you're looking for. So I want to have a fun, relaxed conversation about picking your annuals and your perennials. No garden snobbery here. Whether you're working with a sprawling homestead garden, a couple of raised beds, or just a few pots in the balcony, the same principles apply. And if you like what you've created, then it's good enough. Okay? So, now when we think about plants, especially annuals and perennials, most of us picture the flowers first. Those bursts of color are what catch our eye in seed catalogs and in nursery displays. And don't get me wrong, flowers are wonderful. I have a few. But here's the truth. For most of the growing season, the dominant colors in your garden aren't the blooms at all. They're the greens and the grays and the silvers, the shades of the foliage. Because most plants bloom for a limited amount each year. Okay, so you will have some flowers, some blooms, and then they go away. So you want to focus on the foliage. Think about what you want it to look like year round. Like most of this stuff is past its bloom. Some of it has berries on it, which is cool. There's a holly bush over there off camera. But you want to focus on whether or not you like the look of the foliage because that's what you're going to be looking at most of the time. So if you've got, for example, a perennial that only flowers for 2 weeks out of the year, the rest of the time it's going to be the leaves that you're looking at. Like the bushes behind me. I like those leaves. That's why they're here. So your foliage matters a lot, even more than the flowers. Think about texture, shape, color. Do you want a lush tropical feel? Looking for broad, glassy leaves? That's a kind of a tropical-ish. You know, if you've got big leaves that are really glossy, that'll kind of give you a tropical look. Plant things really close together so it's really lush and everything really fills in nicely. That can be fun. But maybe you're preferring something a little softer, romantic. Maybe look for a few plants that have silver foliage and intersperse them amongst the green. That can be really pretty. Okay? Don't be afraid to choose plants just for their foliage. Foliage is gorgeous. Okay? And remember, the blooms are only there for a short time. Pick a plant you like the look of, whether it's a bush, a tree, or just a fern. Okay? Pick something you really enjoy. A bold chartreuse leaf or a deep purple backdrop can make your flower colors pop even more, but it can also bring you pleasure when you don't have any blooms to look at. Make sure you like the way your plants look when they're not flowering. Okay? So, the prettiest plant in the world, though, won't do you much good if it's not suited to your climate, especially if we're talking perennials. So the good news is plants that are adapted to your region usually thrive with very little extra effort. That's why I encourage you to check out your hardiness zone, okay? And all areas of the world have a hardiness map. This is the one for North America. So get a hardiness map, figure out what your zone is, and then figure out what can grow in your zone, okay? For annuals, cold hardiness isn't really a factor. And even if it's a perennial, you can grow it as an annual if you understand it's going to die in the winter because it can't survive your winters. You can still grow it as an annual. I mean, it won't achieve its mature status, but you can still grow it. However, think about how they're going to appear in your shorter growing season. So if you live in an area that is not tropical, but you plant a bunch of tropical plants, you are going to end up with things that only grow for one season. So a plant that achieves maturity in 2 or 3 years isn't really going to achieve its full lush look if you can only grow it until September. We get frost in September. So you might want to consider that before you invest the money. Okay. Some annuals do really well in cool weather. Others love the heat. So whether you're using a perennial as an annual or using a true annual, you will have better success if you pick something that kind of goes with your summers. If you have really hot and humid summers, pick plants that like hot and humid summers. If you have cooler summers, pick something that thrives in cooler weather. Okay? So really think about not just your hardiness zone, but what are your summers like? Okay? For perennials, cold hardiness is the crucial factor. They need to survive your lowest temperatures in the winter. If a plant isn't hardy to your zone, it either won't come back in the spring or you're going to need to do like wrap it in burlap and really baby the heck out of it to get it to survive. We get 40 below in the winter. There are not a ton of plants that will survive that. So all of these bushes were picked because they will survive the winter, and I don't have to do this over and over and over again. I don't like ripping things out and replanting that much. So pick something that can survive your winters. And honestly, if you want a low maintenance garden, picking perennials that come back easily every year and survive your winters naturally is one of the easiest things you can do. It's a win for yourself if you don't want to spend every single spring ripping things out and replanting. So do think about what will grow in your area. Now, one of the most underused resources in gardening is the knowledgeable staff at your local nursery or garden center. I know it can be tempting to just grab whatever looks pretty, but taking a few minutes to chat with someone who knows your region can save you years of frustration. They can tell you which plants really thrive in your soil, which ones tend to get pests in your area, and even which varieties are more drought tolerant or deer resistant. And if you're more of a DIY researcher, there are fantastic online databases that let you plug in your hardiness zone, your sunlight conditions, and your soil type to find plants that match. Take advantage. When choosing annuals and perennials, don't just think about beauty. Think about the role you want each plant to play. Do you want it to be a focal point? A background filler? Something that feeds pollinators? Maybe you want plants that deter pests or provide shade for other plants or produce edible flowers. Maybe you want something that provides shade for you, so you're looking at bigger plants. Now, annuals are fantastic for filling in the gaps and adding seasonal splashes of color exactly where you want them. But perennials are the backbone of your garden, your long-term investment plants that return year after year. Combining them thoughtfully can give you both structure and flexibility. So incorporate them well. Use them as your placeholders, as your focal points, and fill in with the annuals around. Now, a great trick for a beautiful garden is layering. Place taller perennials in the back and the medium plants in the middle, and then the shorter ones, the low-growing ground covers, in the front. This is fun. This works with beds and borders and even containers and can give you some visual interest. And so it's not just one plant. Because you might get bored with just one plant. Maybe you love just one plant and you want to grow just one plant in your entire garden. That's fine too, if that's what you like. But if you are layering within those layers, think about mixing flower time so that something is in bloom most of the summer. So check, like, oh, this flower blooms in August, but this one blooms in June. That means I could have blooming in June and August. That would be nice. So really take the time to look at what you're considering and see how it will all work together. Okay. And don't forget to mix in foliage types for contrast. Everything doesn't have to look the same. You can have different sized leaves and different colored leaves and different shaped leaves, and it can all be wonderful. Okay. It doesn't all have to be cookie cutter. So for example, imagine tall ornamental grasses swaying in the background, mid-height cone flowers blooming their hearts out, and maybe a carpet of creeping thyme spilling over the edge. That could be a wonderful garden bed. Beautiful. That's a garden that looks great in spring, summer, and fall, even when individual plants are taking a break from flowering because the foliage is attractive. So consider going in that kind. It doesn't have to be those three plants, but consider that kind of pairing where you're thinking about how things will work together throughout the growing season. Now, a common mistake is buying plants based on how they look at their garden center. Remember, most nurseries are stocking plants in peak bloom to tempt you. So it's worth doing a little homework to see what the plant looks like the rest of the growing season, how big it's going to get, and whether it spreads aggressively. You have your phone in your pocket while you're at the nursery, right? You have data? Do a little Googling on the spot. And that cute little perennial in a pot might turn into a massive space hog in a year or two. So you might end up buying a plant that is too large for the space you're trying to put it in. And be realistic about the care you're willing to give. If you're not going to be out there watering every day in midsummer, skip the thirsty plants and choose drought-tolerant varieties instead. At the end of the day, your garden should make you happy. That might mean a riot of colors and textures, or it might mean a serene, coordinated palette. There's no wrong answer here. I love green. I love to be surrounded in the colors of the trees and the colors of the plants I pick. So I pick a lot of green. There's some silver and some red foliage here and there, but primarily I love green. So that's what I pick. Okay? Make sure you love it. The key is to choose plants you genuinely enjoy looking at, tending, and living with. If you love bold tropical colors, go for it. If you're more into a soft pastel color and airy textures, that's good too. Gardening is as much about personal experience as it is about horticulture. What someone else hates, you might love. And if your garden is for you to enjoy, then you need to make sure you will enjoy it. So when you're choosing your annuals and perennials this season, remember, look beyond the flowers. Match your plants to your climate. Think about their role in your garden and choose foliage that will shine even when the blooms are gone. And most importantly, plant what brings you joy. That's about it for me today at Andersen Acres. Let me know in the comments what's one plant you always make room for in your garden, no matter what. We'll see you tomorrow.